In this video we are going to be doing a top 5. A top 5 about maybe one of the best ways to actually play some arcade games. I just want to make like this top 5 with a simple reason: there are way too many ways to play. However, there were a couple of them, like a little bit of a highlight video what I'm going to be doing today, because I thought like this was going to be interesting, because there are so many ways to play, so let's grab 5 of them that I personally really liked. However, let's deep dive into it and let's go. So let's start with the number 5, the Portable Pi machine, the 2-player edition. I've actually reviewed the Portable Pi 4 if I'm recalling it correctly, but I actually checked out the latest version with the Pi 5. And oh boy, the Pi 5 is absolutely so much more superior, and I mean particularly when it comes to the power. This thing can do so much more, and of course we're having so many cool things they can actually do. There was even like a light gun support, but again like it was not set up because this was like purely based for the Portable Pi overall configuration. Quick tour of what are we actually getting when it comes to the image and where can we play. So I've reached the point that we're going to be having so much cool freaking stuff on here. So having the Arcadia 2001, let's check it out. Ardu Boy, Fatal Fury. So another thing I want to do is actually going into the menu, pressing start, and we're going to be shutting down the freaking audio. Where is the audio? Is it the button? Music, no, front end music, and that's it. Okay, thank you, that's much better. So let's do a quick overview of what's going on over here. We're having all the games, favorites, light guns, so we can set up light guns. So having less played, arcade, the Capcom systems. So let's see, we have all kinds of different emulators. The Sega STV is on here, Sega 2D2X 3DO, Abuse. What the heck is Abuse? Okay, it's just one single game. So having the Coleco Family Computer Adam Edition. That's only it, what's on there. So this is kind of pointless if you ask me. Commodore 1200. So all kinds of different games. And you know, the overall configuration of different games, there's so much on here. Amstrad, Apple computers, Ardu Boy. We're having even a Fatal Fury collection. I think it's kind of cool. So we're having all of these, let's say, collections that are on here. I've seen it before with Sonic and so. Atari ST, Atomic Wave. Cannonball, there's only one game, so it's kind of pointless too. So they should put everything on, let's say, homebrew or custom games, whatever. The only thing he does is actually like this, like HDMI. It's going to be resyncing every single time. It did happen sometimes. So Diablo, oh, it's kind of cool. I think Diablo 1 and Diablo Hellfire. And just pressing A, we can just boot it up. But let's go further into the list because there is actually so much to see. So let's see how I can get out of the menu. So we're pressing the top buttons over here. So having the MS-DOS, it's getting really annoying. So that's something I really need to fix because this is something out of the box pretty damn annoying. Dreamcast, Wolfenstein. Okay, we have different ones. Spirit of Destiny, Super 3D Noah's Ark, Wolfenstein 3D. Duke Nukem, but many different Duke Nukem versions that we can just easily boot up like that. So many systems that I've personally never even seen in real life. It's kind of cool. If you love football games, there are a lot of them. You can already see there are some doubles, the handhelds, 8-bit, 16-bit, and the list go on and on and on. I think what's interesting just to grab a couple of games to see what's going on, and this thing keeps doing that. Oh! Mega Drive, Mega Duck, even some Mortal Kombat over there. Metal Slug collection, but this is what I mean, like a lot of doubles. Naomi, and the list is insane. Would be interesting to check out some N64. I think the Pi is actually capable of running it, some PlayStation Portable, but there's not a lot of them here. And of course the ports, where it's kinda limited when it comes to that. We do have Doom, there's only one single Doom on here. Quake Racing would be awesome to see if we can even have the option to add a racing wheel to this. To wonder if this is even a possibility. But so far Sega Saturn. And the list goes on and on. And I think I'm going to be doing a quick overview of a couple of systems, because there is way too much to actually, let's say, cover in one video. But let's take a close look at the more demanding one. There is even some Half-Life on here. So that's actually it. So let's get into the fun and let's try out some games, particularly when it comes to the more demanding one. There's even some pinball. Oh man, that's just really cool, having pinball on here. The only thing it's missing out, like having side buttons. It would be cool to have like side buttons and a plunger, but of course it's something they can maybe do in the future. So let's try some shoot 'em ups and let's see what's going on. I also wanted to check out how's the overall performance and if we're going to be getting in and out of the game. Do we still have that flickering thing going on? Otherwise we need to deep dive into the Pi itself to fix it, or there's something in the settings. About the settings, so we're pressing start, we're getting over here the interface of the main menu, and here we can do a lot of tweaking if something doesn't work. So the main menu utilizes everything that we're going to be needing, so like network, sound options, scraper, updates, downloads, you name it. Even if we get into the system options, you can do it over here. Maybe I need to mess around with some of the, let's say, specs over here to see if we can mess around with the video output. So maybe check out if we can stop the flickering, because there is something of a setting. Let me know in the comments if you know what's going on over here. But let's start up with something of an emulation of the PC engine. You can see everything has been enabled when it comes to the bezels. The only downside is it's actually cutting off a part of the screen. So the bezels, I think that's something I'm going to be shutting off. But beside that, this runs like a charm. And when it comes to 8-bit, 16-bit, it's not going to be a problem at all. So we're going to be pressing start and pause over here, and we're going to be getting back into the menu itself. So that's actually how easy it is, and with some shortcuts you can even do, like say let's say you can even mess around with like quick load, quick save. Doom 64 is shmups. It's not like, that is not a shmup. Alright, or it is. No, shmups were like a little plane. Okay, whatever. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? I think it's just a shooter, not a shmup. Well, like I mentioned before, you can actually turn the monitor on and off over here. So the flickering, what you see over there, I just need to figure out what's going on. It can be a software issue, but it can also be something going on when it comes to the display itself. So we can mess around with it, having audio. There it goes again. It's my resetting itself. It's getting more frequently now. It's going to be really annoying. But you know, that is something we're going to be messing. I did ask them, but they couldn't really tell me what's going on. So input, maybe this is the thing, but it auto select. Maybe I need to shut this down, that it's going to be just trying to search new signals. So let's say, no, there's something we cannot shut down. See, this is actually what it does every single time. So, you know, messing around with it and input. Now it puts auto select, okay. Advanced, maybe we can mess around with some advanced options. But there was something going on. It's quite unfortunate that we need to do messing with this. I really hate the tinkering, particularly if we're going to be buying something like this. Not too much is going on with the Panasonic 3DO, and it's kind of surprising because when it comes to the Panasonic 3DO, I know it can be problematic to actually emulate. I've been messing around with it on PCs and everything, but you know, let's see what's going on with some gigs. So far I can actually hear everything seems to be working as it's supposed to be. Let's see which button I need to press. It was like a little bit of a guessing, do all of the different emulators. Hello? There we go. Well, let's see what's going on when it comes to emulation. So the pause button is over here. Okay. Two-dimensional games are less demanding. I'm guessing this is the reason why they actually put it on there. But I don't really notice any weird things going on, so that's kind of cool. So Panasonic 3DO is actually playable on this portable device. So through playing this game, I don't know what's going on when it comes to that. The monitor is flickering, what I mentioned before and showcased. I think it's a general thing happening in the main menu, but in emulation I don't really notice anything weird. I really love the joystick what they're using on this device, where this is actually not like a full Sama. It's absolutely awesome. Whee! But let's move on to something more demanding when it comes to emulation, performance and everything. So let's see what's going on with some Neo Geo gaming. How does it work when it comes to this overall Art of Fighting 3? And that seems to be working just fine. Also the joystick is very nice and compatible with playing fighting games. So a little bit more demanding is of course the old famous Dolphin Blue. Oh man, I love this game. This game is a lot of fun. But this runs absolutely without any problem on some native resolution. When I mentioned like a native resolution, I've been messing around with upscaling this on, let's say, mini PCs, and that was like absolutely looking amazing, but then you're going to be needing way more power than this. But we've reached the point that we can actually play autonomous wave. Let's add player number 2. Yep, that seems to be working fine. And now I'm just playing by myself, yeah. But before we're going to be continue playing some more games, you can see there's a lot of artifacts going on. So if this is like a problem with the Pi itself, and I just wanted to showcase in this video as it is, let's boot it up, and in game it's getting even worse. But when getting into the game, oh man, it's getting even worse than before. And I'm going to be checking out some more emulators, but this is kind of interesting and weird at the same time. You can see like a lot of artifacts. So that makes me wonder, like, is this a problem of the freaking device? I mean, like when it comes to the Pi, is this something else going on? Oh man, like it starts flickering now. And the reason I actually show you this is with a simple reason. I just wanted to show as the product is. But also if you're getting into the main menu, you can see the artifacts going on. So what's kind of interesting is that automatically it will showcase this as a marquee. So I don't know if I can actually duplicate the screen, because that was the general idea about it. But do you know, I did still see some minor artifacts, but when you're going to be booting it up without power zone, we don't have the flickering craziness. So that makes me wonder, does it something to do with the extra HDMI output that is connected to the Pi? Maybe that is one of the reasons why this thing is doing so many weird things. But let's boot it up into some gaming. But let's first boot up into the game and let's see what's going on. Do we see some weird glitches? Does it still flicker? Because the flickering is less now, or still like in the beginning. Let's get into the game. Sometimes it will activate that flickering situation, but no weird glitches. Ah, there we go. There he is.
Aquatic adventure. Don't forget to take advantage of those subs. Let the battle begin. Go!
But of course, the question is like, will this keep flickering in the game? And again, we need to still figure out what's going on. But you know, I want to just make an honest review to showcase what I'm getting over here, and not start tinkering, fixing all of the issues and then making a review. But so far, we're going to be deep diving into this together. So far, emulation performance Sega Dreamcast on native resolution is just fine. Next! Moving on to the GameCube, I was really curious how that is going to be working out. So let's just boot up into the game. You can see still a lot of artifacts going on. Oh man, I'm so curious that what's going on. Is this something to do with the Pi? Because it's running like 49 Celsius, so not a lot when it comes to that. And okay, yeah, we're going to be still keep flickering. I do wonder if they map the joystick over here. Can I press out? So this is really unplayable at this point. Nope, they didn't map the button. They didn't map the joystick. I'm guessing I will be needing these crappy things, but you know, don't want to even use these freaking chemical controllers. Another system that's kind of cool is the Atari Jaguar to check out emulation. So the weird thing is, like, the artifacts we did see with the GameCube, we don't have them at all when it comes to Atari Jaguar. So that is kind of weird. Like, what is going on? Is it seriously something doing with the overall, let's say, Pi that's overheating? Because 49 Celsius is not that much, or at least so far I know. So, but let's get into the game and let's see what's going on. So far the emulation performance seems to be right. We don't know any weird things going on. Okay, that's cool. Seems to be that this part, or this Atari Jaguar part, it seems to be working fine, particularly when it comes to the two-dimensional. So that is cool. Now one thing I already noticed, like getting into MAME, this is another problem I've noticed like throughout like making reviews is that sometimes they're completely messed up when it comes to emulator. Press hold the A button over here at first, game options, and let's see, MAME. Let's grab one of the MAME emulators. I do feel like there's not a lot of them, like only a couple of them. And let's see which one is going to be actually booting up. I completely forgot. Like I normally had like this MAME 2005 that, or there's like a non-emulator at all. Okay. No, I think this thing is not going to be booting up, or does it? No, it does not boot up at all. That's such a bummer, seriously, like, so unfortunate. And there's all the other stuff that we sometimes need to tweak. And the only thing I can actually do is download new emulators, and I think it's the MAME 2005 I'm actually going to be needing for actually booting up this particular game. It makes me wonder, I think over here some Mortal Kombat going on. So does this actually run on the same kind of emulators? Wow, this is so weird. I set event game options. Some weird thing going on. Okay, so this option, we cannot mess around with the emulator. Let's see if this is going to be booting up. See, this is actually going to be booting up. What the heck? I also see a lot of freaking like, artifacts when you're having like one black screen, but it seems to be working fine when it comes to the overall emulation. So I think the Pi is absolutely an overall great device normally, because we can just play all kinds of very cool games that we could have with the previous models. Oh, it was almost. Gotcha! But what I really like about this device is that it is really compact. So it's actually in briefcase design, so if you don't have a lot of space, you can actually put this thing aside. And if you just want to play some games, you can open it up, assemble the joysticks, and you're ready to go. And I think it's also a very cool way to play, but particularly this 24 range model is beautiful. It comes with a very nice, beautiful high-end IPS screen, like it's just a 60 Hz, but still it's a very cool device. However, there's also like a smaller version, so if you don't need like 24 inches of fun, you can actually get yourself, I think it was another one, was like a 20 inch, it's a little bit smaller, even more compact this particular model. But with the Pi 5, I think that is going to be absolutely a machine that you can actually enjoy yourself, even playing some N64. Where it's still, going to be depending on how you're going to be configuring this and also how you're going to be playing. Some games just need to be played with a controller, but still I think it's pretty cool that this makes this machine quite versatile and have all kinds of ways to play. Nevertheless, this is such a cool overall solution that I just needed to implement this in my top 5. So moving on to the number 4, the GameBook Pi 5 arcade stick. So the reason I'm putting this a little bit higher in the list is not the price point, because this thing is another level. However, we're going to be looking at the configuration. This thing can do it all. If you want to have a full-size arcade machine, but you don't have space, this can be a very cool overall solution. So, for example, if you want to play arcade, trackball, spinner, controller gaming, or you want to even plug in a light gun, this thing supports it all. So the reason I just want to put it a little bit higher in the list. It's actually based on Pi 5, but the overall firmware it's running on, I mean particularly the software of the Pi, it's so much more better. It even has the option to update, so if there are any bugs or problems with the emulator, they can remotely fix stuff. So that's, in my opinion, another level when it comes to the GameBook solution. And I was really intrigued of the overall quality of the wood and how it just works. And I think that is one of the key things. So where you can actually use a lot of high quality parts, the software is absolutely key, and I mean particularly when it comes to the firmware. So the firmware itself, this thing is absolutely great. We connect it with an RG45 and Dragonfly, that is an amazing build. And I say the overall quality, everything is actually made in the Netherlands. This thing is nothing to do with China at all. So I think this is another level when it comes to it. It's going to be way more expensive to actually purchase, but if you have something like this, you can enjoy it for many years to come. And I think with all kinds of cool things, when interchangeable octogate, so if you're going to be putting up into Pac-Man, it changes out. You know, it's kind of crazy if you think about it. So I think this thing is packed up with very cool overall, let's say, features. Demolish Fist. I just wanted to see what happens if you're going to be using the arcade stick itself. So Atomic Wave is another system that was quite difficult to emulate on those simple chips, but now with the Pi 5 we do have overall great performance. Demolish Fist, what a weird game it is. So when it comes to beat 'em ups, I'm not the biggest fan of these particular kind of beat 'em ups. But emulation performance, nothing wrong going here. Reset. But if you want to play some cruise in the USA, we can actually do that on the N64. Yep, they managed to fix it. I just completely crashed into the guy, but the point is that we're getting overall great performance now. So I think they're still running on native resolution, but that's not a problem at all for me. But at this point, it's great to see that with the Pi 5 have managed to get yourself like the N64, that part actually working with some cruise in the USA. So let's move into some golden eye, or is it going to be golden glitching? Because yeah, there were some glitches going on. Alright, still the paperclip is not there. I do wonder if you can finally easily fix that. But let's get into some gaming and let's see how that actually looks. So gameplay wise, this has been improved so much compared with the previous Pi. Still, this is a very difficult game to emulate. So let's see what's going on with the Sega systems. First of all, trying some more demanding games. But I think we've reached the point that we can just play all kinds of Sega Dreamcast, Naomi or Thomas Wave systems. And we did see some really cool things go on when it comes to the arcade too. And we're going to be reaching in very soon. But so far, no slowdowns. This runs really nice. Die Hard Arcade is one of those games that I never experienced back in the day, simply because I didn't have a Sega Saturn. Nope, I didn't have that. I was a PlayStation gamer. So I did play a lot of Die Hard Trilogy, but the overall emulation is becoming so much more stable and better. The same with this particular Pi that's in the inside. It runs pretty smooth. You can see there's no stuttering, weird thing. Also having audio and everything is working quite well. What's this? Couldn't I grab this or something? Oh yeah. Slap her with the groom. Is this seriously like just having a gun? What the heck? No, go down. But when it comes to Sega Saturn, it doesn't really matter what we're going to be throwing at it, because in the end, it seems to be everything runs just great on native resolution over here. I love that blow-off sound. The blow-off valve of the turbo. Zombie Revenge is an interesting game. This is what I loved about the Sega Dreamcast, with these very interesting semi-arcade games. Well, I did play this a couple of times on those, let's say, simple game boxes from China. This is so much more enjoyable if you're going to be playing this on more power device. Oh yeah! I always have this idea, even have like a machine gun or a shotgun, that the handgun is the most powerful one of all of the freaking guns. Hasta la vista, baby. Next up, one of my favorite Sonic games of the Dreamcast, Sonic Adventure 2.
Level 1 security door breach. Emergency formation. Intercept intruder.
Going back in the time with some Sega City. For me personally, while I love the modern game systems, I still prefer to play these old school games. Always when I'm playing on my Sega City, I love to play some Final Fight City. And of course we have many other cool games like Snatcher. But like I mentioned before, these games run without any problem whatsoever. So moving into the GameCube emulation, the overall emulation, it's going to be okay. However, we're going to be testing out a couple of games, but we're going to be using an actual controller where we can maybe utilize the game box itself. I think it's not going to be super convenient for playing every single game. So throughout the video, I'm just going to be using the controller, particularly when it comes to these kind of emulators. But it makes me wonder, so let's do a little bit of deep dive into the Crash Bandicoot Racing. And yeah, this is going to be a hit or miss. That is a fact, because the previous game had like a lot of emulation issues, but so far this seems to be working fine. I'm going to be needing to play this with the controller. But what is even more exciting, with the overall, let's say, performance boost, now we can actually play some freaking Killer Instinct on the arcade part. And this one's pretty good. Oh yeah. But also, if we're going to be moving into part 2, here we don't have any issues when it comes to performance. I still remember that I actually played this game for the first time on the Xbox Classic, but now we can actually play this freaking game on a real arcade. And I think this is such a cool overall experience, but I'm getting my ass kicked big time. There we go, come on. Ugh. So arcade, we don't have any restrictions here so far, I understand. It's kind of cool that we finally have a box that can actually play all the other games that we couldn't play before. How many freaking times I've been complaining about that Killer Instinct doesn't run, but it does actually run now. And I think that is such a cool and overall improvement. No, this game is brutal. I play this so much on the NES version. Oh man. Ah, there we go. Oh, still in the face! When it comes to playing with the center light gun, for people who have never seen it before. So they're using actually a camera inside of this, and you're going to be pointing at the screen. I did notice I had a little bit of trouble when it comes to the overall, let's say, using it, and it has nothing to do with the software itself. No, this has to do because you do need to have not too much lighting. If you're going to be shutting down the lighting itself, you can see how great it actually works. I just wanted to point out, so if you're going, you don't need to really have a pitch dark overall lighting situation. So, but let's say if we're going to be giving a little bit of lighting in a darkened room, it's going to be great when it comes to that. For example, now we're going to be having some similar to daylight. You can see that we can use this just without any problem whatsoever. So the overall configuration of playing with the light gun is going to be absolutely great. So of course it's a little bit of a personal preference what kind of system you want to use. We have so many different kind of, say, light gun situations. But I think the Sinin isn't a very convenient one because you don't need any external sensors. And I understand that's the reason why they actually went for this particular one. So let's try some Ninja Assault of the Atomic Wave. One of the things I'm really curious about is like, how will this actually play? Okay, we can put in credit over here with the side button. Reload is with the shotgun thing at the bottom, so that's great. I also did put the recoil on high, not on the maximum, because I was way too crazy. But yeah, we've seen already some emulation performance of Atomic Wave and Dreamcast. That's not going to be a problem whatsoever. We didn't enable the cheaty core share. I already messed it up. That was quick. And the side buttons can be used for getting into the game, for if you're going to be having enabling the freaking start. But beside that, everything seems to be working fine. I must say that this is overall a fun experience. Welcome to the jungle with the Neo Geo clone bar top. Yep, the Pandora jungle actually. So when it comes to this particular device, I must say when it comes to features, like putting this on the list like number 3, yeah, that makes no sense. But the reason I actually put it a little bit higher because of the price point. You know, I paid like $150 in sale, and where this thing doesn't even have an IPS panel, it comes with a Pandora's Box 9 inside. I think it's still a very cool, let's say, cute little device. At least like they should put in like a little bit better box, like an DX Plus or whatever these things are called, with a little bit more features. But you know, if you're going to be looking at what you're getting for your money, I think it's a very cool little device. And of course it's actually based on these, let's say, cabinets. I think it's a very cool idea. And if you don't want to spend a lot of money and you just want to enjoy some arcade games, you can actually do it fairly easy like this. And again, like, it's like a simple stick, so let's remove the plastic, and this is just like the wiggle stick and buttons that we have seen with many Pandora's boxes. So in overall quality, this is like a cheap way to play, but it was actually a little bit of a fun. Speaker is actually at the bottom, it doesn't sound that bad. So visual wise, this thing does have some filters implemented. we can actually change it out by, let's see, let's go back through the main menu over here. And if I'm correctly, they're going to be somewhere here a tiny button. Oh yeah, we need a pen for that. If you're going to be pressing that, we're going to be having the option to get into the settings menu over there. All right. Okay, that seems to be actually going on. We can turn off the speaker if you want to. So in here we're going to be not having a lot of options, but let's do a quick overview for the people who have no idea what's going on with the Pandora's Box 9D. So the first option is the EO testing. With EO testing we can actually just test out the controls. If you have any problem or you're not sure if all of the micro switches work, you can actually test it out over here. They map the buttons correctly, start over here, and if you want to get out of it, you can press start and A at the same time. Custom buttons, system configuration. So actually everything has set to free play. Moving pause menu, that will automatically exit after 3 minutes. So in here we can actually mess around with the joystick mode if you want have used any joysticks when it comes to that. Quality optimization has been turned on. Let's turn that off because I just want to have the original settings. Was it D? Yep. Game settings, bookkeeping. We're going to be turning this on later on. Actually going to be starting, otherwise we don't have any audio. Language English, save and reboot, and factory setting. Well, let's go over here. Ooh, let's go. But I do wonder if you're going to be having like a zillion, like say, problems with like say loading. You see the weird line going there? Pandora's Box, the nightmare never ends. So let's do some quick testing of, let's say, some couple of games. So the first game I actually start up, you notice that it was completely messed up. So let's check it out. Let's grab something simple. Let's see what is going on. So you know what I'm really curious about is, does these games actually have music? So let's boot up into Tekken 2. Let's see how the loading times are actually here. Wow, that was really quick. Okay, freaking awesome. We do have audio, so that's really great, because that's one of the things they always like to keep messing up with those Pandora's Box and game boxes. Okay, so the buttons are completely weirdly mapped like always. Okay, the buttons are really weird. So we have some minor hiccups, but the overall emulation seems to be okay. You can actually hear it, like the hiccups going on. Why can't I do my freaking move? Yeah, that's the one I was searching for. Oh! But that's a kind of weird situation that a PlayStation game almost like instantly boot up. We do have like Mortal Kombat. Let's see what's going on over there. Okay, normally this game is already have like a super long loading time. So I'm going to be grabbing myself something to drink because this is going to be taking like forever. Tea time! So I was quite surprised how fast it loads up. So the loading of the Mortal Kombat that normally takes forever was actually like way faster than normal. So with the newer Pandora's Box we had actually like 4:3 aspect ratio shenanigans of craziness, but the shenanigans didn't be implemented over here. Oh crap. Oh yeah, the buttons are completely messed up. Where are they? There, okay. Well, I'm just really used to that. Some of the Pandora's Box have like almost instant load, because now it's absolutely really laughable how bad this is. So I love this wiggle stick. When you're going to be like wiggling it, it just automatically goes to the previous gag sometimes. Okay, however, so let's get into some gaming. Like I said, I remember there were some of these arcades that had like these tiny speakers under the monitor, and most of them were sounding like really high pitched. So this single speaker is doing a really great job underneath. There we go. So the joystick out of the box, it's not going to be a problem actually playing fighting games. Let's see. Crap. But bottom mapping, let's see what's going on with Street Fighter. Yeah, that's completely weird. But out of the box, I must say that, okay, emulation of the 90, surprisingly, it's not like super bad. Moving on into the Neo Geo part, but it's the same situation you can just see with every single arcade game. And it makes me wonder, is this like an overall problem with the SD card that you can actually maybe fix by using a faster one? Well. Let's go. Yeah, I must say, for this money you're paying for this overall product, I must say that in the beginning of era of like say Chinese products, we had always like the shenanigans with really bad like overall joystick, but it's enjoyable now. Like I would still swap it out for a real Sama joystick. The buttons are okay. So art of farting, yeah, art of fighting. The path of the warrior. Wait, let's try that again. So what I wanted to say is actually, if you're going to be having the Art of Fighting 3, so weird thing is that this was like loading up really fast. I couldn't like actually record it because it was that fast. But emulation just tested out. So where Mortal Kombat was running great, Art of Fighting is actually running great. It's actually having the, yeah, it actually has like the original layout, so that's pretty cool. A, B, C, D, so. Oh, was a little bit too early. Yeah, everything's fine, man. Emulation is good. Don't really notice any weird thing besides maybe some weird like, is it like screen tearing going on? Two can play it again. But this is serious like old school Pandora love, because now we're going to be needing deep diving into the freaking list, remembering which, let's say, title has what number. Oh man, that's the days that I didn't miss out, because this is such an overall pain. But we do actually have some old school games. So we're having over here Street of Rage number 3. Sometimes they actually change it out with the Mega Text system, and they sound pretty awful. But let's go with Street of Rage 2. We have the CN, I'm guessing the China edition or something kind. Let's see how fast they actually boot up, because they're now running on a completely different emulator. And loading times make no sense at this point, because where Art of Fighting 3 is such a huge Neo Geo game that loads instantly almost, and then having different games that loads up like a freaking snail, because it's so slow. Tea time. There we go. So, jeez, it should be that. It's about time. Oh, that audio. Oh. It's awful, seriously. Okay, so we're going to be using these. Okay. Yeah, I can actually see there was some screen tearing going on. Ugh. So yeah, the Pandora Box 90 has actually some lost 16-bit games. I think it's Sega and also Super NES. Did notice some, I think it was like a Final Fight or whatever, but there's not a lot of them on there. So, but again, let's boot up into the next game and let's get myself a sip of my tea. I love this silly version of Madden Slug number 6, like 6. It's actually 2, with some really weird tweaks to it.
Mission 4.
Beady beam! Love the soundtrack. Don't get a power ups. Don't get a power up. I'm feeling Thor with the power of the clouds. I think you can actually see the flickering now. Actually, when it comes to the Pandora's Box 9D, this is like a really old game box with absolutely a messy list. But if you just want to buy something that is really inexpensive and you just want to enjoy yourself some arcade, it doesn't take up a lot of room. And of course it does miss tons of features like the other products, but it comes with such a small price point. I'm thinking I need to implement this in my top video and also put it a little bit high in the list. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? For the number 2 position, I choose the Evercade Alpha, and this is actually to do with 2 reasons. First of all, the ecosystem of the collecting and cartridges, so you can actually add all kinds of games, of course, if you have enough buttons when it comes to the joysticks and the buttons of the machine itself. But the second reason is actually that I love the overall quality. I was flabbergasted how this thing looks and how it overall plays. So let's do a quick overview of one of the couple of devices you can pick up, because as making this video, Evercade released a couple of different models now, like Mega Man, Street Fighter, and I'm hoping to have like even a Neo Geo in the future with built-in games. But I think it's such an overall fun quality product, and I'm really curious how many of these different teams are going to be coming by, but that is something we will see in the future. Because this is like a little bit of a piece of an acrylic they were using. We still need to remove one side, so let's be very gentle with that. And also when it comes to the marquee, you can see this one is glossy because it has been removed, but also the other ones will have a protection foil over it. So we can also lift this up. There we go. So we finally get rid of the freaking plastic. But this is the thing what we're going to be having in the inside, and the overall construction is quite interesting. I mean, particularly when it comes to a technical standpoint. So this is the ribbon cable that goes to the main board. So if you can find maybe a converter like with the arcade 1-ups, you can actually like modify this with something else. But not even going to be doing that. I think over here the audio jack, because this thing functions as a main board that can do everything. You can see the encoders implemented, so the cables go straight into here and everything else too. So yeah, modifying, I would not really recommend doing it at this moment, but that's it. And also if you want to replace the joysticks, you can actually do that fairly easy. So I must say that the joystick, the feel, the buttons, I have nothing to complain actually there, but still, if you want to change it out, you can do it. You can do that fairly easy. And I can tell you that the overall light up marquee is absolutely perfect. The way how it looks in a minimum light up room, this looks really great. And of course, with the Evercade Alpha, beautiful logo intro, whatever, thingy. And I think first need to accept policy, sell your soul, and everything else. Yeah, okay. But if you're going to be looking at, let's say, the overall design, this thing looks absolutely great. It comes with a beautiful IPS panel. And I think that is absolutely one of the key features. However, the front plexi is a little bit glossy, so this is going to be a challenge actually recording that. But shall we take a close look at, let's say, what's going on in the main menu. So the games that are installed, like we mentioned before. So then next up we're going to cartridges that we can implement, that we're going to be doing later. So there's even some cool games like Collie Defense that is pre-installed, Game of the Month. But of course, if you want to have more things going on, we're going to be actually needing to connect to the internet. So this is kind of cool that we can browse all of the cartridges. So over here we're going to be having a cartridge. You can just check them out. How to buy and everything. So in the software itself, there's already a lot of cool stuff pre-installed. So if you want to check out what kind of games you actually want to add yourself. But let's move on. Let's go to the settings over here. For the people who are interested, I think what is cool about this device is that we can do all kinds of very cool things when it comes to the display. So we can change out the aspect ratio, shaders, bezels, dynamic rate control, scan lines, you name it. There's all kinds of cool stuff that we can change out. Theme, I'll give you a couple of examples of what you can do over here. I must say I love the Mega Man look of this. Sound network, so for the sound we can actually disable the Menu music if you don't want to hear, or actually background music if you want to. Network, accessibility, language, system. Let's see what's going on over here. Check for updates, factory reset, map controller, force patch cartridge. And we're going to be having the secret code that we need to implement. But let's start off with Carrier Airwing. Man, this game, I have some really good memories. Played that so much on the arcades back in the day. A funny story is that I actually didn't even know how this game was called. You know, like I played it many, many years ago. I think maybe you also have this feeling that you played games, you have no idea how it's called. So Carrier Airwing was actually one of those games. Let's put in the credits. Let's start. Air to air, air to air, to air to ground, air to ground. Let's choose this one. I think the first time I ever played it was a very long time ago. But now it's really cool to actually revisit these games. So when it comes to the joystick, actually playing with it now, I must say that it's very loose. So that's one thing I do need to get used to. It's very responsive. But this thing is having some really good audio. It's not like super loud. One of the things I loved about this game is that your fuel is also your health bar. And you're going to be having to finish up the game, and then we're going to be having some pretty cool things. We can upgrade our planes, save the money you actually receive from the mission, and that's how the game works. Press the menu. What you can do is like making a quick save over here, but let's save it. Let's make it a quick save. So what is kind of cool, it's not like we can actually do a little bit of cheating. Load up. So that works super fast, no weird delays. You can also change out the aspect ratio. Let me set an original one. We can put in a full screen. Doesn't give like a lot of like extra value because of the 4:3 display itself. Of course, we have like scan lines, but it's not going to be changing out. One thing I wanted to do is checking out some other games, and let's get some Mega Man going on. So one of the things I've found absolutely fascinating about this arcade is the overall audio too, because the audio is absolutely really sounding great. I mean, particularly when it comes to, let's say, the overall stereo effect too. Oh. But one of the cool features, I think this is super cool about, let's say, the overall general idea with this arcade machine, is that we can plug in our games. You know, I have a couple of games still on seal, but you know, if you just want to play some Windjammers, we can just actually buy that and plug it in. Okay, so let's see, we're going to be having more, the IRAM arcade collection, because we're going to be playing some arcade games. Yeah. I can tell you that this is feeling really tight if you're going to be pushing that in, but that's it. So let's go to the cartridge section, and what I find absolutely awesome, that's going to be loading up all of your game in one page. So there we have it. We're having Windjammers, we're having R-Type, and this way we can just, it's fairly easy, add our games. Of course, if you're going to be removing, let's remove it. That's also be automatically removing it from the list itself. Oh, nope. Oh yeah. And with the cartridge collection, you can actually like find your favorite games and just add them. And what I mentioned before, you can even look into the library to see which games or you find it personally appealing. So the game cartridges do have multiple games most of the time. I think there were a couple of them that had like 2 games. But the main question remains, can we actually find all of them for just a normal price due of licensing? I'm hoping if they're going to be having always like reissues, so we're not going to be having those over the top like priced, let's say, cartridges, because that would be completely killing the overall Evercade fun. Okay, so for the number one, I choose a GVL arcade bar top. And the reason is actually very simple. I've been doing all kinds of arcade nights with friends and family, and I've noticed one particular thing. And if I'm going to be putting like claw machines, coin pushers, you name it, I notice that people will play on it, but eventually in the end of the night, people will actually be behind the GVL machines. We do have different models out there, and I mean a lot of them, with CRTs and LCDs. I've reviewed the Retro and the Vortex, and those are machines from 2005-2006. And we have also new editions now there that you can pick up. So where these machines are quite difficult to find depending where you live, also when it comes to the price point, where this is just like another level. But the reason I just wanted to put this on the number one position is of the high score, let's say competition, and people really enjoying themselves. After owning retro GVL machines for quite a long time now, I started actually repairing them, upgrading them, because I've noticed like some guys were selling them broken. I was like, let's see if I can fix it. I do have some knowledge about computers, how I can just like actually fix stuff, and I can tell you this is just another level. I was really intrigued to see how these things are ticking and can we fix them, because I want to expand my collection, because this is like one of the best purchases I personally ever did of my collection. And you know, it's fun to have one or two extra machines, because on parties I've noticed like people are always like occupying these things. So I opened it up, checked it out how it is, cleaned it up, and checked out what we can do with these when it comes to broken parts. However, you know, take consideration when you're finding them, it's always like a gamble, and I had like 3 of them, so I had like 3 of them, and maybe I can make at least one working one. And I must say that when it comes to fixing them, I managed to actually fix 2 of them, and I'm going to be using one for spare parts, because there were too many parts broken, like the main board, the screen itself, and it's too expensive to buy new ones for me as a European guy. Like if you live in the US, I think it's going to be so much more convenient, because in the US there are so many ways to actually find parts. Of course, the only thing we'll be doing is counting to 11, combining the balls, try to play all of them from the playing field, and that's it. You need to be very quickly, simply because that was not fast enough. Sometimes you can get yourself extra bonus points. See, it's very quickly going to be moving away, and it's going to be quite challenging throughout the game, and the balls are actually going to be moving away from the field itself, and then of course combining it, and that's actually how we do. There are a couple of those games on here, so we have like good balls and all kinds of different things, with different rules and different challenges. Underwater mess, and this is more of a search your kind of objects. Everything is in English, so for if you're having a different language, I understand that you can change the menu and not the game itself. So let's say we're having the coin, the bow, the mushroom, the ox, and the pendant. So you need to like search through over here. I love the colors of it, if you're going to be changing out the lights. And you know, that's it. That's the thing you need to be doing, trying to be finding it fast as possible. If you're going to be missing it, you can see it change out into red. It's kind of cool, don't have like any negative effect. So what's the difference is one of my favorite just games to play, because it's just fun to play alone or together with friends. And I can tell you that it is quite challenging over time This is a very easy one, but sometimes these complex pictures, it can be very difficult to find the differences. So it's kind of funny, it's like the last one I give you the most point, and it's going to be also the most difficult one. Oh man, I have no idea. I can't see it anymore. Oh man. This is what I mean. Is this... no? Man, there is not that much actually you can do. But if you don't know, you can just touch the glasses and it shows. Man, I didn't even see the difference then. So it's absolutely nuts if you think about it, but this is so much fun and very challenging. So let's move to the new games, and we're going to be trying out the street racing. And this is actually absolutely a surprisingly fun game. The thing you need to do is trying to beat your opponent 3 times in a row. Then you're going to be moving to the next stage. And it's just a right moment of clicking. I think I'm not going to even beating him. And if you think you're not beating him, you can press stop. It will save you some time and some gasoline. If you're going to be pressing too early, you're going to be having a false start. And you're going to be rebooting and it will cost you some fuel. Let's see you try it again. But it's kind of funny, later on you're getting even nitro bonus modes where you can even get more points. And this way you can try to challenge each other. Monkey shoot is quite difficult because the character, or at least the objects, are moving. And you need to press when you're going to be seeing the target itself. And you need to be getting into the red part to get into the perfect shot and the target itself. But because he is moving and the character moving, you need to time it very carefully. And if you're going to be missing, you need to be earning the right amount of points. So the GVL Echo HD3, that is the brand new machine of GVL. And again, this is maybe one of those options if you don't want to tinker. And again, if you don't want to buy an old machine. Or maybe you don't have the option at all. This would be one of those ways to actually buy and play. Take in consideration, this is not some cheap machine from China. So this is like a high quality product that you can pick up. And you know, this is just a modern touch with an HD display in it and some really cool new games. And again, like this is another machine. If you want to spend some serious money and you want to have something completely different than your typical Pi or Pandora box machine, this can be a very cool way to play with some amazing audio and sound system. Super simple, I love it. So graphical wise, this looks really nice. You can see they also have like implemented new features, having special balls that can actually explode. Of course the gameplay mechanics will be mostly the same, but I keep messing it up because this thing is way too fast. We have like a bomb again, and there we go. The monster truck game is actually back. I played this one a lot and now it's back. It's completely different and I think that's pretty cool. So I was afraid that a lot of HD games were similar, you know, to the older ones, but no, that's different. So what you can do actually, first of all, you have a different kind of trucks. Even have like a locomotive. Different songs. This one's my favorite one. We don't have physical controls, but also the gameplay is completely different because now we do need to balance everything. Hello. Hello. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah. Whoa. This is different. We don't have that crane is picking you up. You can actually get broken. Nitro! Woohoo! Oh yeah! So the overall quality of this game is so much different, but also I love it that they completely changed it out. The pirate game is back, where I personally didn't really like the older one. This one is kind of cool, like the way how they actually made it, with the cool pirate intro. Harmonies, but it's going to have some wicked pirating. With the cool music. Let's zoom out a little bit more. There we go. So what you need to do is super simple. Press the bell, hit the fish, and get the highest score. Ooh, that's a good one. Bouncing one. Boom, boom, boom. That's it. But I'm going to be looking into the older and new version. So we're going to be looking in the GVL because I've played the original game so much with so many people. I need to get used to two things. First of all, the touchscreen, because normally we had physical buttons on the older machines. And visual-wise it's different because everything is more detailed now. And not in a bad way, not at all, but it's just like getting used to a completely new, different controller. There we go. Ooh, another good one. There we go. Bouncy, baby. Woo! Boom, boom. 250 again? What? Okay. Let's give this thing another try. Woo! Another good one. Come on. Oh man, getting the hang of it. But in the end, there are so many different ways to play. Personally, I really enjoyed myself with the GVL machines like always. And I think this is absolutely one of those very cool machines you can add to your personal collection. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this top 5? What is your favorite way to play? And it would be great to see you in the next video.